Hello, good evening, everyone. It's so good to be back on the show today. It's a beautiful day today in the UK, in Newcastle, in the northeast of England. And it's just a good day to be alive, actually. I usually would tell people in the post-COVID era, when you ask me, how are you? I'll tell you, I'm alive. And, the premium on life has gone up. So if you wake up every morning, you should be absolutely grateful for seeing another day. Just remember this time 2 years ago. Was it 2 years ago or 3 years ago? Oh, it's already 2 years ago, 2022, 2021, 2020, 3 years ago, isn't it? The goal everyone had, the singular goal everyone had was to stay alive, right? So being alive in this time is great gain. Don't worry, your business will come good. Your worries will come fine. You'll be all right. You'll just be all right. So it's a beautiful day. I'm excited today. I'm super, super happy to be on the show today. And if you're just joining us for the first time, just to introduce the show, this is the Roadmap MBA show as a platform, as a business education platform, where we are poised to, create something new, out there. It's a platform for everyone. If you're a business person, you're a business owner, you're a student, you're a career professional, you're whatever you are, just a human being, actually, then you're in the right place, because what we're trying to do here is we're on a mission to bring, to help people around the world, anywhere you are, to build a better life for yourself. We're trying to create an accessible platform for all communities to thrive and celebrate together. We pay so much emphasis on, collaboration and value addition on this platform. We believe that the world can be a better place if we all come together and collaborate. And something I usually say all the time is that we can create magic when we all synergize. The man from Nigeria, comes together with the guy from Asia, and the guy from Australia, and then we come together and build something magical for the world. And that's the platform we're creating here, where everyone can join and celebrate and collaborate too. And this platform was founded by Steve Pugh. And Steve, thank you for creating this opportunity for us to showcase our talents. And I've been very, very privileged to be part of the show as a guest presenter. And presenting on this show as well is Ashley Kings, who's the lady in the house. Really, if you have an enterprise and you don't have ladies around the table, then you need to access what you're doing. And Ashley has so well done, giving us that spice in Roadmap MBA. She's been very, very, very responsive to the goal, to the objectives, and we appreciate you, Ashley, if you're listening. Thank you for all that you do for us on the MBA, on the Roadmap MBA. And so we usually would do this. I present once in 2 weeks, and the beauty of the show is that I have the floor to discuss whatever I like to discuss, but definitely something that adds value to the business public, right? And today I'll be looking at something quite interesting as well, quite interesting. But a quick caveat out there is that the views we put out here and the views I put out here are strictly mine and not those of my employers or any other organization I'm associated with. They are strictly my opinion. And like we usually say here, what we do is to stir up conversation, right? We want to be like the breaking news of business, right? We want to be the place where we dissect and discuss topical business issues. and stir up the zeal to take it further and create magic. We want to be able to pioneer the beginning of the next big things that will happen in the business world. We want to stir up those conversations. We want to marry those ideas. We want to create a confluence of ideas. We want to create sweet spots that can lead to magic, whether it's in research or in entrepreneurship or in your business place, whatever it is. We want to do all of that. Yeah, and Steve has just posted on the page that we now have 3,000 followers. Oh, I have 3,000 followers. That's sorry, I didn't read that right. Oh, thank you, Steve, for that. Yeah, so when you're on the show here, it's difficult to catch up what's happening on social media. We have screens here to watch all that, but sometimes it's difficult to understand what's happening there. And thanks, Steve, for staying on there and joining on this. Okay, so today we'll be reflecting on a topic I called apprenticeships. And in our usual way of mindfulness, like I say, we want to always discuss something that's topical, that's in the now, and make sense of it. The so what's. We're not like others, who just do business education for the sake of business education. We are keen on the so what. What do you do with it? This information is out there. There is knowledge everywhere. But what do you do with it? The so what? So what? So what we're trying to do here, the focus here is to create a community of learners and earners. So you can use your education to create value that improves your bottom line. Simple, right? So if you're part of this show, if you're part of this community, that should be your preoccupation, to learn and to earn. That's our thinking, our thinking process here is, how do we convert your learnings into earnings? So in the spirit of mindfulness, the last week from the 6th to 12th of February was the National Apprenticeship Week in the UK. And we felt it was a good time to beam the searchlight on this topic, to say, what is the need for us as a people, as business people? What does apprenticeship mean? What does it mean to everyone? I love to do the learning to earnings. Yes, that's the goal. Pop in here to learn. We will also handhold you to earn. It's as simple as that, right? So we will be looking at apprenticeships, and I've said it could just be a solution to the whole HR conundrum that we're facing. Last time on the show, I discussed HR in the new age. We talked about the problems, the challenges HR are facing in this age, from the whole distributed workforce to gig economy to the Gen Zs, the Gen Alphas, and all of that. We talked about the dynamism of HR in this time of technology, the internet age. And we also talked about the fact that there are record numbers of vacancies out there and no one is taking them up. What's the challenge? There's the visa challenge, the different kinds of issues, geographical challenge, and all that. And we're saying today, could this be the solution or part of the solution to the whole HR problem, leveraging apprenticeships? So we'll be looking in depthly into this. And also, the show before the last, I was talking about business model innovation, and I stopped because of time on one business model in Africa that's really gaining popularity, and is even being taught in Harvard at the moment. So it's an apprenticeship system which is called the Igbo apprenticeship system. So I'll talk a little bit about it towards the end of this reflection, if that's okay. So welcome to the show, and as it is our tradition on the show, we usually will just discuss and tell you how our last 2 weeks had been. For me, it's been a little bit silent, I would say, quite uneventful. Maybe because I didn't travel this last 2 weeks. Usually would travel within the period, but I didn't travel because I was sick. I had this very bad tonsillitis, which gave me a very bad fever, and so I was away from work for a few days. So that probably made my last 2 weeks quite uneventful. But here am I, full of spirits, ready to go. So you can pop into the chat. Just let us know how your last 2 weeks have been. How's your day been? And just a word to someone there listening who's looking and saying, oh, things are really difficult. There's the cost of living crisis. There is the energy issues. Back home in Nigeria, my friends in Nigeria are all grappling with the currency challenge. Nigeria had the currency redesign, and the new notes are in short supply. In fact, my mom called me 2 days ago. She's not able to get money. You have money in the bank and you can access it. People are suffering on that. And then there is the fuel shortages as well. So people are really going through times. But just listen to me. If you are one of these people who's going through some, bad times at the moment, be comforted. We are with you. And this time shall pass as well. Just know that tough times never last, but tough people do what? Do. So stick on there, keep your heads up, and you will see the end of that. Okay, so let's get into the deep end of this. Let's look a little bit about the apprenticeship system. So a quick introduction. We'll look at a brief overview of apprenticeship in the UK. What are apprenticeships? What is an apprenticeship? And I think the first thing that comes to mind when you talk about an apprentice, and this is for me, coming from Africa, coming from Nigeria, the nuances of an apprentice are different. In fact, one of the key things that struck me when I came over to the West or to Europe was that the focus is different from what it is in Nigeria or in Africa. In Africa, we're more focused on certificates, formal education, university degrees, and all of that. There is less focus on skills. But across here in the UK and in the West, there is more focus on skill sets. What can you bring to the table as against what degrees do you have? In fact, I was just I was going through a post on LinkedIn this evening, and someone, was talking about there were a lot of comments about, how people need to focus more on the skill set. So what comes to mind for me, coming from Nigeria, when they say an apprentice, is someone who is less educated, who is who's low in a lower cadre, right? So that's the nuance in my head. But when you come over to the UK, it's a different ball game. You find people who have risen to the pinnacle of career, even in very professional and corporate organizations, have risen to very top areas without going to the university, right? And that's really interesting because you see people who are very good at what they do, but they don't have a university degree. And so it became important for us to look at this whole apprenticeship system that has helped fashion or focus or helped the people focus more on skill sets, technical, vocational education, what you call TVET. Technical Vocational Education and Training, TVET. In fact, just last week I was discussing with a major organization, a UN organization, and they were telling me that their focus in Africa is changing into the technical and vocational educations. So you can see that this is timely, and the mindset, there's becoming a mindset shift from the whole attention on degrees, the certificates, and all that. And I was just discussing with Steve before we started the show that there is a huge on the roadmap MBA, we're leveraging the principles of apprenticeship really to say the focus here is the skill set. What are you learning, and what are you applying to your job, and what are you turning over to get value? So when you hear apprenticeship, the first thing that comes to mind is on-the-job training, right? On-the-job training. So you want to, have someone, kind of a master, and I don't want to use the word master and servant, or master and apprentice. Okay, that's the word. I was trying not to use the word apprentice, but again, it's kind of a master and an apprentice. It just means that there is someone who already knows the trade, and then someone who wants to learn the trade, right? And usually for apprenticeship programs, it's usually structured. And that's the difference between what we have here and in Nigeria. In Nigeria, most times you have a young man who most times where it starts from is that someone is not doing well in his academics in school, right? Excuse me. As usual, Steve has made me a beautiful coffee, and I usually would like to acknowledge him for that. Thanks, Steve. So usually in Nigeria or in Africa, it usually starts from someone not being good in his education. And then the parents are like, okay, you're not good at this. You need to go and do some handwork. So you can see that the preference over there is go to school. Go and get me. In fact, if you follow African soap operas or comedy shows, you will see, where we kind of mimic our parents. All African parents want their children, I don't know if it's changing now, but all African parents want their children to be doctors, engineers, lawyers. There has been so much love for the titles, the big titles and all that, but things are changing. So apprenticeships generally has to be structured. There has to be a plan. And it has to be a mixture of on-the-job training and classroom instructions. So for us, we'll just look through a few of those. So in the UK, where we are, most of what we'll be talking about apprenticeship today will be based on the UK experience, use cases. It's been coming for a long time, from the Middle Ages. Over the years, it has metamorphosed into what we're seeing today, where even the government creates funding and all that. We'll talk a little bit about how it is run, and how businesses can lash in on these opportunities. Mostly small businesses, how you can lash in on these opportunities to get workforce, building loyalty that is missing now in the workforce. Because if you have someone who has learned the ropes from you, there is a chance that the person will stay put or stay longer, not stay put. Nobody stays put anymore, but stay longer, if the conditions are right. Okay. But you need to be able to bring the person in and teach the person. And we've had, like I said, the whole apprenticeship program has been in for a while. So key milestones in the UK, we've had the apprenticeship levy. There's an apprenticeship levy, which I'll be talking about soon. The apprenticeship levy started in 2017. And then there was the launch of the Trailblazers apprenticeship program in 2015. So, basically, it's been coming, but it's been growing and improving. In fact, just during the National Apprenticeship Week last week, there were videos of, if you just go and check Rishi Sunak's LinkedIn page, the PM. He's no longer new PM. He's done his 100 days anyway. So I think we should drop the new now. It's amazing. Sorry to digress a little bit. It's amazing how, he's no longer new, but each time I hear him speak, I still hear, him blaming Putin for everything. So it's, again, he's no longer new. I think we should now be hearing solutions. Solutions are coming anyway. So, like I said, if you go to his page, you will see how he's been out there in the field, engaging with. Steve says at least he has lasted longer than Liz Truss. Yeah, actually, that's now a milestone. Can you imagine? So he can't have the award of the shortest prime minister or the shortest tenure again. Yeah. So he went into the field and he engaged smaller businesses and was trying to buttress the importance of apprenticeships for smaller businesses. Let's run a little faster. I've already defined apprenticeships, work-based training programs that allow individuals to earn a wage. So the good thing is you're working and you're earning. You're working, you're earning. And that's what we preach on the Roadmap MBA. We're saying you don't need to abandon your work to go do a 4-year program. It's no longer necessary, right? We're in an age where you can come into the Roadmap MBA, and this is what we offer really, customized intervention. Oh, I need to learn marketing to be able to do more marketing and get more customers and get more money. And then I come in and enroll. And because we have this interactive, we call it the mentor, the Roadmap mentor, when you come on the Roadmap MBA, you're quizzed on what's your most need at the moment. What do you want to start turning over and seeing value from? And then whatever it is you say, the mentor, it's like a platform, it's like an AI tool that helps build what your roadmap will be and recommend to you what you need to be doing and areas of the course that you need to go and engage and go back to work and turn it over. That's what we preach here. Right? So there are types of apprenticeships. The various types of the intermediate apprenticeship. So this one actually is the those school leavers just coming out of school can enroll in their intermediate apprenticeships, usually 12 to 18 months. And then there's the advanced apprenticeships. The advanced apprenticeships is those who have had the intermediate apprenticeship program trainings can now go into the advanced, and it's usually a little bit longer. It takes 2 years. And then there's the higher apprenticeships. The higher apprenticeships, it's a much longer program, a much longer training, but it's more or less like a degree program. But it's also, it's also on the job, the same model of the apprenticeship, but it's longer, it's 2 to 4 years, often equivalent to bachelor's degrees, right? But again, the focus is not on the degree, it's on the skill. So what you see here is that you see people who want to learn specialist skills rather than go into, and this is why I keep making reference to some of my colleagues on the MBA when they came in, some of them who came from India. Of course, when you come in from other climes into the UK education sector, there is this shock, right? The focus is usually different. And then they were all subjected to writing essays upon essays upon essays and citing upon citings, which is good practice. But most of them felt, where am I going to use this? The minute I step out of here, I'm no longer writing essays. It was, of course, I found the benefits anyway in some ways, but in terms of what they needed at the time, they wanted to get to the meat. Most of them wanted more accounting. They wanted more this. So there was this, there was this problem of solving everybody's problem because people had different needs. In fact, when we had our business in action, what they call business in action, where we had people, entrepreneurs or companies coming to talk to us. Some people felt that some sectors were less represented amongst the the companies that came to visit, right? Others felt, oh, we had it enough. So it was difficult to it was difficult to satisfy everyone on the program. And that's because there is a basic kind of curriculum that has to go through, everyone has to go through, right? And then you just have to pick what you want from it and you move on, right? So with the higher apprenticeships, there is less focus on the degrees. There is more focus on the skill set you want to learn. You become a specialist at the end of that 2 to 4 years. And then there's the degree apprenticeships. These ones are usually in collaborations, most times with universities. You have companies like PwC having a center, for instance, in NUBS, right? The Newcastle University Business School, the PwC has a center there. And what they do is that they have students from the business school come in to do some on-the-job experience and go back to class. So that could fall on that degree apprenticeship. This is also a good way to begin to catch them young as an organization, right? So if you have a company, you may want to begin to partner with universities, for instance, to offer on-the-job training. When I was doing my MBA, one of the key problems I wanted to solve, in fact, one of the solutions I was building as a result of my lived experience during the MBA was to create a platform that could allow students, right, while on the MBA, begin to participate in live projects, begin to give them experience in the market, that ensures that when they came out of the MBA, they were not just only theoretically empowered, but they were also practitioners, if you will. And that's something that the Roadmap MBA is still going to solve, because what we're doing is we're bringing everyone into the pool to learn, and eventually we will guide you and hold you on how to earn. And, and such partnerships will eventually come up. So in the UK today, we have over 400,000 apprentices. So if you have a business and you're not using apprentices, you may want to rethink it, because we'll be talking a little bit about the benefits, as we go in. There are apprentices in every sector: construction, healthcare. In fact, construction, one of the key things, in fact, my first engagement with apprenticeship in the UK was a case challenge I did on the MBA, right? We did that. The very first challenge I did on the MBA was to develop a solution or a model for a big construction company in the UK on how they can improve their apprenticeship system, especially for females. How they could increase apprentices it was a construction firm, but for females. So you can imagine the peculiar problem. Construction is usually male dominated. So they wanted to create an environment where they had more females. So that was my very first engagement on apprenticeship. I did a lot of research on it then. And most of the materials I've called up here today, were things I got up from that research. So apprenticeships can be everywhere, even in business, right? So 88% of employers think that apprenticeships lead to a more motivated workforce. This is quite a lot. So majority of the employers in the UK think that apprenticeship, has helped to motivate their workforce. 75% of apprentice employers say the program has helped to reduce recruitment costs. This is a no-brainer, because what happens here is that I think in the next slide or two, I'll be talking a little bit about the apprenticeship levy and how companies can leverage what the government is bringing to the table, the contributions the government is bringing to get, to reduce their recruitment costs. I think there was a time a friend of mine who just has a one-man business in the Northeast here was able to leverage the apprenticeship program, and she got the staff she needed. So businesses can lash in on this. Smaller businesses, if you're a small business with less than 50 people, and you want to recruit an apprentice, within the age of 16 to 18, the government is going to pay 100% of the apprenticeship cost. This is what it is in the UK. So you want to really think about it and how you can leverage this opportunity to improve your workforce in this HR problems that we're having. 89% of apprentice employers say apprenticeships make their business more productive. And remember, most of the people we have in the apprenticeships are younger people. Though the entry age into the apprenticeship system is 16, there is no upper limit, right? You could be 80, you want to do an apprenticeship, that's fine. But you find more younger people, within the 16s, people who just came out of school, and they want to get into the workforce. You find most of them here. And people within that age are known to be more creative. They want to try new things. They're very productive people. Very productive people. Mostly in this internet age, they're very good and they're very tech savvy. So if you have a business and you're struggling with some of this, you may want to consider them. And then 80% of employers report that apprenticeships reduce staff turnover. And that's definitely going to be true, because what happens with more established resource or staff is that they usually wanting to look out for better new opportunities and stuff like that. But with apprentices, there is a stronger chance of loyalty because they feel some form of indebtedness, if you will. They've learned the ropes from you. They feel like, okay, I owe it to this organization, for some time before they leave. So staff turnover would definitely reduce. And then we have over 250,000 workplaces employ apprentices in the UK and Ireland. So this is a very thriving space. And if you're a business and you've not started doing something, you need to start doing something. You can pop in, send us an email if you need any further information. You can chat to Steve or to myself. Send us an email. We're happy to engage you on this. Now, there is this, what we call the apprenticeship levy, which was established in 2017. What the government is trying to do here is to encourage to build the funding required for this service, and also to encourage people to do the apprenticeship. So what happens here is that every employer, every company that has a wage bill, an annual wage bill of over £3 million, is taxed 0.5% of that annual wage, right? If you have a company and your annual wage bill is over £3 million, then you're expected to pay 0.5% of that amount into what we call a digital account. So the government opens a digital account accessible by the government and by the company, right? So what it simply means is that you're paying that money there. You can draw on that money to train your own apprentices. So the government is just trying to ensure that you do it, because if it becomes if it's not compulsory, then people can decide not to. So the government is trying to encourage people to put their monies out there and still use those monies. And not just using the monies, the government is also saying, if you have used up all your monies in the digital account and you want to train more people, for every additional person you're training, the government says you just pay 10%. We will pay 90% of it. I think that's a huge benefit to businesses out there. Get yourself into this pool. And if you don't have, and I remember I had said, if you have less than 50 employees, which means you're on the lower cadre of the business, or a smaller, maybe a micro, small and medium enterprise, then you don't even need to pay any monies at all. If you want to get an apprentice, the government will pay 100% of the amount. We have organizations we call ATOs, apprenticeship training organizations, who offer this training. So if you want to, I think it's very simple. Once you go on the website, just go on the apprenticeship training organizations. There's a website that has all the apprentices. As of 2021, there were over 2,000 organizations registered to deliver apprenticeship. So if you go in there as a company, pick a company that offers the kind of training you want to get for your employees, enroll them, and they do the paperwork, and you get this running. It's as simple as that. It's as simple as that. So that's it about the apprenticeship levy. But again, another thing that I just failed to mention is that if you don't use the money in your digital account after 24 months, the government will take up the money. Again, these things are not they're not punitive, really. They're just aimed at ensuring that we keep the apprenticeship system working. Some school of thought have said that this is another burden on companies and stuff like that. But if you really look at the intention, is to ensure that there is a focus on skills development, on the job training, and a structured program around impacting skills. Okay, so what's the eligibility? Like I said, for you to get on an apprenticeship system, you have to be 16 years and above. There is no upper age limit. You can be 70, 80 and still do an apprenticeship program, right? So yeah, the companies are incentivized to use it. Absolutely. It's wonderful to train young people. Honestly, you want to be part of, and even companies can use it as their own CSR, if you will, and then really brag about it. That we are preparing the workforce for the future. You want to be on the forefront of this kind of information, of this kind of thing, So educational requirements vary really depending on the kind of apprenticeship program you want to do. For degree apprenticeships, you may have to be in the university to be able to get those degree apprenticeship for hire. So depending on the kind of apprenticeship, some may require that you have GCSE as the basic. Depending, so it all varies. And other eligibility criteria is that you must be living in the UK for at least the UK apprenticeship system. And so, like I said, it all varies. Yeah, what are the benefits? Very clearly, the benefits are around you gain hands-on experience, hands-on. So it's not a case of detach from the class, from your work, go to the class and learn. In fact, sometimes some schools of thought have said that part of the disadvantages of long-term educational pursuit is that by the time you're done with the 4 years, you've forgotten what you did in the year one, and then by the time you get back into the market, into the workforce, you are almost blank, because you've not. So what some organization or what some universities are doing or some higher institutions are doing is to embed some form of on-the-job assessments, as part of their curriculum, which is good. And we do that in the MBA as well. We did that in the MBA. There was a business in action. There was the consultancy project. It was a consultancy project, which I did because I couldn't wait to get back into the market to start using the knowledge I had. And I worked with Trench Networks. So if they're listening, they're wonderful people there. Damian, Murphy, and the rest of the team in Trench, wonderful people. And it was a good project I did with them. So benefits for the individuals: you get money, you earn some wage while you're learning skills. You get support, mentorship. This is a very key one. So what happens with the apprenticeship is that when you get on it, you get a mentor. And I'll be talking a little bit about this in the next slides when I'll be talking about the Igbo apprenticeship system in Nigeria. You have more, the mentorship and on-the-job training. And then you gain a recognized qualification, which can help you to enhance your career. It's a big, big deal in the UK. It's a big, big deal in the UK. And I think it's a very good one because the focus on skills and, what you can do is actually important. It's very important. Benefit to employers, we've talked about that. You have access to a pipeline of skilled workers, that you can always use. You also have the opportunity to shape the kind of employers you want, shape the kind of skills you want them to have. And that's part of the things we're talking about on the Roadmap MBA. We're also saying companies can partner with us on the Roadmap MBA to tailor the kind of trainings or the kind of skill sets they want to imbibe on their staff. So as part of the packages on the Roadmap MBA is the enterprise package, where we have organizations can sign up on and have their employees get in there to do the program and then learn skills based on what they need, based on what the company needs. The company can tell us, okay, we want to focus on finance, we want to focus on this, and then the staff come in and they're able to get that, and then they go back to work and turn over that knowledge and to the benefit of the company. So, it's another form of, so this is, the Roadmap MBA is another apprenticeship value creator, if you will, or it's another apprenticeship network that helps people to learn on the job and implement what they are learning. And then the benefit for society is that we have a skilled workforce, because we need skilled workforce. We need to begin to de-emphasize paper qualifications, titles, and begin to emphasize on skills. Someone saying there was a focus for a long time on degrees within employers, but now it's all about the skills and can they do the job. It's simple. In fact, when my elder brother, who read cooperative economics, he did his first job as a systems engineer. That was really strange because, while he was studying cooperative economics in the university, he loved everything computer, he loved everything engineering. So he was always doing those stuff by himself. There was no formal education, but he was always going to places to learn things. And then that opportunity came, he applied for the job. And when he got there, it was a German company in Nigeria then. When he got there, no one asked him about his certificates and everything. You've applied for this job. They just gave him a computer and some stuff he needed to do and asked him to do them. And by the time he was done, he had gotten his employment letter, and that was how he started working. An economist working as a system engineer. So you can imagine the importance of skilled workforce. And then it helps us address the skills shortages, improve social mobility, reducing inequality. Because with inequality, it means anybody can do it. As a young person, you don't need to have money to go into an apprenticeship, right? Because the government is paying for it. You just need to choose where you want to go into, choose the companies you want to do it with, and go in. So it kind of reduces the whole social mobility and inequality. So as we round off, let's look at this Igbo apprenticeship system. I promised I was going to come back to this. So this is actually how we dress in my, I'm Igbo actually, so this is very dear to me, Igbo apprenticeship system, and this is how we dress in our local parlance. If I go back to my village and I want to take a chieftaincy title, this is how I'll dress. And in fact, I have a chieftaincy title, unofficial anyway. So the Igbo apprenticeship system, this is really interesting. I just wanted to bring this up here because it's becoming, if you just type this on Google, you will see that this is becoming really, really topical, really topical. And that's because of the uniqueness of the apprenticeship system. A little bit about the Igbo people. right? In Nigeria, we have different kinds of different dialects, multiple dialects, but we have three main dialects or three main cultures. We have the Igbos, we have the Yorubas, and we have the Hausas. In fact, yesterday night I watched a movie, Don't Know About Me. So you just check it on Netflix. It was a London cast movie with a Nigerian Yoruba kind of a Nigerian Yoruba family with a lot of Nigerian stuff in there. It was really interesting because I could relate to Camden, north of London, see all those areas I know in London, and then hear the Yoruba people speaking their stuff. It was really interesting stuff. Yeah, so we have the Igbos, we have the Yorubas, we have the Hausas. These are three major languages or cultures or tribes or, in Nigeria. But the Igbos are very well known for their enterprise. So if you talk about the Igbos, you talk about trading. They're very good in buying and selling. They are commercial people. There is a saying that if you go to any country in the world and you don't find an Igbo man, run away from there. There's a saying that if you go to any country in the world, you don't find an Igbo man, just run away. What Igbos do is that they find where opportunities are. They're very entrepreneurial. They know how to look for where there's, we'll talk about market disequilibrium. The Igbos are constantly looking for where there is market disequilibrium to bring it back to equilibrium. And how do they do that? They solve the problem and then they make money. They're super, super rich people. Now, this apprenticeship system came out of the Igbo land, and these people are very communal. This is another thing to know about them. They're entrepreneurial and they're communal. They believe in brotherliness. There's a popular saying in Igbo that Onyaya na Nwanne, no one should leave his brother. No one should leave his brother. So there is this communal kind of nature. So the Igbo apprenticeship system is a system of apprenticeship where an established businessman, comes back to the village, looks within his kindred, picks 4, 5, 10 boys, young boys, bring them to the city where his business is, have them stay with him to learn his trade. And the interesting part of it is that when they learn the trade, they don't just learn the trade. At the end of the agreed period of learning the trade, he sets up the business for them. The same business he's doing. In fact, what we usually would see is that you can have the businessman, the man, the mentor on the same street, and his apprentice, when he's graduated, when he's become a full-fledged, having a business, his own business premises just on the same street with his boss. And what even happens is that most times, some of the boss's customers are his very first customers. The seed capital that he uses are gotten from his boss. Everything he gets from the boss. And what happens is that this guy who's just been settled now goes back to the village and takes another 10 boys, brings them to the city and trains them in that same way, set them up. So what you see here is that you're not talking about seed capital. You're not talking about skills anymore. You're not talking about first customers. First customers are usually the most difficult. How do you tell somebody that your product serves a purpose? But it's no longer the case with the Igbo apprenticeship system, because most times your boss will carve out a part of his customer base for you to start up with, right? And then it becomes that ripple effect that ensures that there is sustainability within the environment, within the society. Because you've settled one, he goes and brings another set of people, he does the same process with them. And what happens is that these boys become the manpower in your company. So it is efficient for the boss because he's not going to be paying them salaries. Remember, they're working for him and they're learning. And what happens is that he's saving up their monies to set them up after a period of time. So it's a very interesting system that is now being taught in Harvard. It's being taught in Harvard, it's studied in Harvard, because I think, we're beginning to say, how can we replicate some of these ideas or principles from the Igbo apprenticeship system into maybe what we do in the UK or in the West? Because you train someone, if the person wants to start a business, for instance, he still grapple with the problems of capital. He's still grappling with the problem of how to convince people that his product is good, in terms of having his first customers and all that. But with the Igbo apprenticeship system, that is already solved. There's seed capital, there's customer base, there's a lot of stuff that goes in there. Yeah, roadmap Igbo apprenticeship system, absolutely. So what are the key themes there? The role of mentor. So we're saying in Igbo apprenticeship system, the mentor is very key, very key. There's been some downsides. In one of the slides, I'll talk about that. And then in terms of the tradition and skills, there is this traditional intonation, or there's this traditional appeal to the Igbo apprenticeship system, because the people are communal. They are not people who want to. You can't come to an Igbo man's in a village where you see one very rich man, and then you see all the other people are poor. It barely happens. Once there's a rich man, what he does is that he tries to distribute the wealth. So the wealth gap within the Igbos is really minimal. And it also comes with its own challenges, because there's a saying in Igbo land, in Nigeria, that the Igbo man hasn't got a king. You know what that means? Everybody is rich. So what happens is that no one wants to bow to the other as his king because everybody's got money, right? So there's also a cultural significance. There's something that looks like a sacred bond between the master and the apprentice. So it's not just transactional. It goes beyond the transaction. It goes beyond just, so most times these people are family. They're within the kindred. So as a master, as a boss, you also have that responsibility to ensure that you fulfill the terms of the agreement at the end of the day. We've had cases of bosses manipulating their boys, or the boys working for them, and not fulfilling those things. And there's also been people say that it's not structured enough. That some people can stay 3 years, some can stay 10 years, some can stay 5 years. It's not structured enough. So these are kind of the things that, as we go on, we're trying to modernize the program. And then it's, like I said, it has improved hugely the local economy, because within the Igbos, you have everybody is doing something. Everybody is doing something. Everybody who wants to do something is doing something. Like I said, it's currently taught as a course in Harvard, and there is continuity. So what you see is that there is continuity within the business lines, but again, a lot of things can still be done. These are a few downsides. People feel that it is very low in formal education because it is strictly skill-based. People feel that these boys who go in there are usually too young, so there's lack of parental care. And to be fair, you see very young boys, 10 years, 11 years, go in there. I think that's a downside, if you ask me. And that's where, when you look at, where you can bring things from the UK and say, in the UK, the entry age to apprenticeship is 16. If we fix the entry age into the Igbo apprenticeship system at 16, we would have solved this problem. At least people will be sure to have parental care up to the point, at least some form of formal education that ensures that they can do well in this program. Okay? And then people say there's some perceived exploitation, where some bosses don't keep to the rules and all that. And then there's reduced male education. Most times, it's more of the males who go in for this kind of apprenticeship. So what happens is that male education is formal education. Even though I can argue that what happens in the Igbo apprenticeship system is its education in its own. But I think what this means is reduce male formal education. And the upsides, like I said, there's mentorship, there's passing down early clients, early adopters, there's specialists within the trade, you learn the trade, intergenerational wealth. So what you see is that Once there is a big man within the community, you can be sure that his wealth will cascade across his kindred, spreading of wealth and then seed capital. This is really important because it's a problem. It's a problem, to get seed capital for a business, an idea that has not been tested, is usually difficult. And then with this, most apprentices are able to get seed capital to go into the business. Yes, so it's interesting. We will continue to look at this and maybe come back to discuss any new things that come out of this. It's been heavily researched at the moment. And I think for me, it's the beauty of these things is that we can learn from both sides. Like, we talked about parental care. If we fix age 16 as the age of going into this program, then we would have solved this. If we pick this kind of seed capital thing into the UK, we would have solved the problem of seed capital and all that, and some of all these other things. So there are things to learn from both sides, and that's the whole essence of this kind of a platform, where we begin to stir up that thinking process to say, how can we modify? If you're a researcher, you want to write on the apprenticeship, what lessons can we learn from the Igbo apprenticeship system in the UK? What lessons can we learn from the UK apprenticeship system in Nigeria, for instance? And that's the beauty. That's the beauty of a program, of a platform like this. So I think I've really spoken long, but I think I've had absolute fun discussing this topic on apprenticeship. And I hope you've learned something. Thank you, Steve. You've been really active on the social media. We can do something like this. What a great concept. Thank you very much. Great talk today. Gracias. So if you have learned something or you're going to watch this later and you are interested in fostering further conversations, we're usually very happy to hear from you. Just send an email to questions@roadmapmba.com. Just send us your questions. We're happy to engage you. Get on the website, register, begin to take the courses, give us feedback. Remember, this is a startup, it's a growing business. We're not perfect. No, we're not even near perfect. We're still iterating. Steve is still building. So if you get on the program, get on the platform, get on the app is there. You can download it. Start using, give us your feedback, and we'll be able to iterate and improve on this. It's been beautiful. I've enjoyed my time speaking today. And thank you very much for listening. And until next time, keep winning.